I just think he's terrific. And I missed the first test with it. They were really
What theater was it shown in?
It was...
not in this hotel.
oh, no, it was shown in the...
In a movie theater?
Yeah, in the UA Cine. Yeah.
Stand by, please.
Okay. Does that mean we have to stand up?
No.
Okay.
Tape is rolling whenever you like.
Gene, there are a couple of pictures now that have the character or some association with Valentino. Yours, World's Greatest Lover, which is not about Valentino, except there's an association there. And then, of course, we have Ken Russell's Valentino. Now, are you at all concerned that the public is going to get confused? And to make it worse, Carol Kane is in both of them.
Well, no. Answer to your first question, I'm not at all confused or worried about the audience being confused about the two. I didn't know about the other Valentino until I'd written 2 drafts of The World's Greatest Lover and found out that Ken Russell was also doing a film with the title Valentino. And Carol Kane told me about it, that she was going to be in it, but she said I'm just in an 8-page cameo. And I said, don't worry about it. If Valentino, the movie that Ken Russell made, is a big success, it'll only help us in the same way that Andy Warhol came out with Frankenstein, just before Mel and I came out with Young Frankenstein. And it just meant that there was an interest in Frankenstein at the time. And if anything, it helped. And I said, if it's a bomb and dies out fast, it won't matter. It just won't matter. But I don't think that anyone will think, when they see Ken Russell's Valentino with Rudolf Nureyev, and they're going to think that it's anything to do with Gene Wilder is the world's greatest lover, because they're 2 different things. Anyway, mine's a comedy.
Do you think the critics are apt to draw comparisons, or have they already?
No. So far, not that many people have mentioned it. I think because they're so separate in people's minds as kinds of pictures. Did you see Valentino?
I did.
Did you like it?
Not very much.
No.
I love your picture, though. And I'm not saying that just because we're here, Gene, but I think World's Greatest Lover is a very funny movie, but I thought Valentino was a great disappointment.
Yes. Well, there's no connection. It's like talking about hot fudge sundaes and railroad tracks. There's no connection between the 2 films. Just that in my film, Valentino comes in and out a little bit, but he doesn't speak because I didn't want to break the audience's illusion as to what he would sound like. It's not the story of Rudolph Valentino, it's a story of me, a Milwaukee baker who's going crazy and daydreaming and wishing that he were Rudolph Valentino. And I hear about a screen test called The World's Greatest Lover, and if you win the contest, then you get the lead in a new movie called The World's Greatest Lover, and you'll become the next Valentino. And I sell the house, I sell the furniture, I sell the car, I come to Hollywood with my wife. We get there, and my wife runs off with Rudolph Valentino. So there's no connection between that and the other film. Excuse me.
Gene, as you were getting together the idea that you would like to be an actor, I'm talking about when you were a kid and when you were
very young. Yeah.
Okay. Who did you fantasize about as far as, you know, the Walter Mitty syndrome?
Well, I fantasized about the man who played Walter Mitty. It was Danny Kaye. That was the first person. I heard a record. I hadn't even seen a film. I heard a record, and it was Danny Kaye's picture on the album. And his wife, Sylvia Fine, had written most of the songs. And I listened, I said, oh, what is that? I didn't say, who is that? I said, what is that? And they said, that's a comedian. His name is Danny Kaye. I said, oh, and I saw Up in Arms, and I loved him. Then, a few years later, I was watching your show of shows, and that I liked even more. I said, I was watching Sid Caesar. I didn't know it at the time that Mel Brooks was writing for him, so I was in love with Mel Brooks, even when I didn't know who Mel Brooks was. But I said, now what is that? Meaning, what style of work is that? They said, that's a comedian. And I said, well, oh, that is what I want to do, what he's doing. Then a few years later, I saw Lee J. Cobb in Death of a Salesman. with my father, who I had never seen cry in any performance, in a movie, on stage, and the tears were rolling down his cheeks. And Lee J. Cobb was about 50 feet away on stage, acting what seemed to me to be real life, not a performance. And I said later, "What is that?" And they said, "That's an actor." And I said, "Well, I want to be an actor. I don't want to be a comedian. I want to be funny. I want to make people laugh, but I want to do it that way, by creating a character, by really listening, by really seeing, by having real emotions, and by having the audience believe that I'm real in the movie, that they're watching a human being be ridiculous and funny and slip on a banana peel and have a broken heart and stick out his tongue and all kinds of crazy things, but that it's a human being, not a comic who's doing an act like you would in a nightclub." And from that time on, I began to study to be an actor, not a comedian.
Is there anybody today that you look at and say, what is that? Who is that?
Yeah, there was a girl I met once, and no, I didn't mean that unkindly. I was just trying to think of a quick answer. As far as artists whom I admire, I don't have to say what is that or who is that anymore, because I've been trained a long time and I have a pretty good idea of what the answer is. But there are certain people that I admire very much. From the past, it was Charlie Chaplin. And in the present, it's Mel Brooks, who is very close to me in my artistic life, but also in my personal life. And I love Woody Allen. And the three of us are very, very different. But we share certain things in common, which is that we know that there's, well, the way we have of releasing the things that happen to us, the experiences that happen to us in life, it comes out in comedy. With someone else, it would come out in a drama. With someone else, it would be a burlesque. Someone else would be a tragedy. With someone else, it would be a painting. Someone else, it would be a poem. With someone else, it would be a beautiful chair. It would be a lamp. It would be a piece of pottery. But with Mel and Woody and me, anything that happens to us, we want to come out in comedy on film. And although we each do it our different ways, we have certain similarities. That knowing that the audience out there is like a people in a desert who are dying for something to drink, cold water. Just give us some cold water. And people come along in the movies and they say, "Would you like an apricot liqueur?" Thanks, no. What I would really like is some cold water, maybe a cold beer, but preferably just some cold water. It's hot here. Someone says, "How about a beautiful 1929 Bordeaux?" I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. I'm sure it's delicious. But all we want is some cold water. And I feel that it's that way with comedy and the American audience, that they want visual humor. They want to laugh. Laugh out loud. Not hee 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 hee, little titters and, "Oh, that was cute, that was amusing," but really laugh. And that you don't see much of anymore. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's what the three of us have in common.
When the three of you are having a serious discussion.
We never have
okay, that
been
answers
together
my question.
to have a serious discussion. I've been with Woody alone, and I've been with Mel a lot alone. But the three of us have never been alone together and had a serious discussion.
It's really zany time then, all the time.
No. It would be just the opposite of what you think. Woody is a very serious person who, with a few intimate friends, might say something funny, but he's very quiet. On the set, you'd think it was an Ingmar Bergman set. People walk around on tiptoes. Most people wear tennis shoes. If you speak very loudly, the assistant director goes, "Shh, shh, 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 shh," like that. With Mel, it's a lot of craziness and a much noisier set. He's very serious, but he's serious in an explosive way. I'm sort of a combination of the two. I can lend myself, I sometimes feel it come over me to be crazy, but most of the time I'm gentle, I'm quiet, and I save my insanity and hysteria for the film, not for sitting in the living room and using myself up. I don't need to say, look at me, I'm funny, I can be funnier than you. Comedians will do that a lot, but actors don't do that so much. Regular actors, directors. Unless they, see, Mel Brooks used to be a Borscht Belt comic. He wants the attention that way. And Milton Berle, if he were here, who's a lovely man, he'd want to be telling jokes to make you laugh all the time. He wouldn't say, well, we're not on the air now, so why do I have to be funny? He'd want to be funny all the time.
If there's more than one person, he has an audience.
Yeah, he might, as far as I know, he does it in the mirror, too. But I have very quiet moments, and I like to sit quietly at night and have a glass of wine and think about things ahead, and I'm not that boisterous a person in private life. But in the films, I say, now you can use up all that energy.
Gene, save some of your energy. There may be somebody else wanting to talk with you today. And thanks so much for being here.
You're very welcome.
Don't stop yet, Larry.
Okay, where do you want me to look now for the reaction
And
shot?
Larry, right here.
All right. I'll give you, or I'll give the editor, I should say, serious and not so serious.
Yes. Now, serious. Now.